The whimper was almost inaudible, but it pierced the silence of that cold morning like a needle. A dachshund puppy, so small it fit in the palm of a hand, pushed with its snout against the motionless body beside it. The mother's brown fur did not move. Not a sigh. Not a tremor. "Mom, wake up," that frail little body seemed to beg, its short paws trying to reach her face. But there was no response. Only the icy wind of the early morning blowing through the rubble of an abandoned construction site. Laura should not have been there. That shortcut through the empty lot was dangerous, everyone said. But she was late for work, and 5 minutes less on the route made a difference when you have 2 jobs and a child to raise on your own. That was when she heard it. That thin, desperate little cry, which did not seem to belong to this world. She stopped. Her heart raced. It couldn't be what she was thinking. Laura approached slowly, her eyes adjusting to the dim light among the piles of debris. And then she saw it. The dachshund puppy, with its crooked little legs characteristic of the breed, insistently pushing the rigid body of its mother. The dog was dead. Probably for hours. The puppy lifted its little eyes to Laura. There was no anger in that look. There was no fear. Just a silent and devastating question. "Can you help me?" Something broke inside her. Laura picked up her phone with trembling hands and called the only place she knew. The neighborhood veterinary clinic. But the response was blunt. "We don't handle street cases. Look for the Zoonosis Center." The Zoonosis Center. Laura knew what that meant. She knew the fate of abandoned animals in those places. She looked again at the puppy, which was now shaking violently, pressed against the cold body of its mother as if there were still some warmth left there. At that moment, Laura made a decision that would change everything. She took off her coat and carefully wrapped the puppy in it. He did not resist. He simply nestled against the warm fabric, finally stopping his trembling. "You are not going to die today," she whispered, feeling her own tears run down. But what Laura did not yet know was that rescue held a much bigger secret than she could imagine. If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave in the comments what you thought and which city or country you are watching from. Laura arrived home with the puppy hidden under her coat, her heart beating so hard it seemed to echo through the walls of the tiny apartment. Daniel, her 7-year-old son, looked up from his math notebook and widened his eyes when he saw what his mother was carrying. "Mom, what is that?" "Silence, Danny. The landlord can't know. The lease was clear, no animals." But Laura couldn't think about that now. The puppy was freezing, its lips pale, its breathing weak. She improvised a bed with towels, offered warm water with a dropper. The little dachshund could barely swallow. Its half-closed eyes seemed to give up with every passing second. Laura felt panic rise in her throat. She had no money for a veterinarian. She barely had money for the overdue rent. That was when Daniel came closer. "Mom, remember Mrs. Iris from Building C? She said she used to work with animals." Iris. The elderly woman everyone avoided because she talked too much. But Laura had no choice. She picked up the puppy and ran 3 floors up, knocking on the door in desperation. The woman who opened the door was not the sweet old lady Laura had imagined finding. Iris had sharp eyes, steady hands, and a gaze that seemed to pierce through people. She saw the puppy and her face hardened. "Where did you find this?" "In the abandoned lot on Acacia Street. His mother was dead." Iris turned pale. Her hands trembled as she took the animal. "No. It can't be." "What? Do you know this dog?" The old woman did not answer immediately. She examined the puppy carefully, turning him over, observing every detail. Then she found something behind the left ear. A small crescent moon-shaped mark, almost imperceptible. "This is not just any dog," Iris whispered, her voice heavy with something Laura could not identify. "Fear? Anger? This puppy was stolen from me 3 weeks ago. And the person who did this is far more dangerous than you imagine." Laura felt the ground slip from beneath her feet. "What?" Iris finally raised her eyes, and there were tears in them. "You didn't save an abandoned puppy, dear. You just put yourself in the middle of something terrible." Laura spent the next few hours listening to a story that sounded like something out of a bad movie. Iris bred dachshunds of a rare lineage, animals worth thousands. 3 weeks earlier, someone had broken into her apartment and taken the entire litter. 5 puppies. Their mother, heartbroken, ran after the babies and never returned. The police did nothing, Iris said, her voice breaking. They said it was just another case of dog theft. But I knew who had done it. Rodrigo Vega. The name fell like a stone in Laura's stomach. Everyone in the neighborhood knew Rodrigo. Owner of a pet shop on the main avenue, always smiling, always kind. But there were rumors. Whispered stories about animals that disappeared and reappeared at expensive shows with fake documentation. Are you sure? Absolutely. But I can't prove it. Iris stroked the puppy, who finally seemed to be breathing better. And now you've brought him back to me. If Rodrigo finds out. Laura didn't need to hear the rest. She understood the danger. But there was something inside her, something that refused to bow to fear. Maybe it was because she had spent her whole life being ignored, trampled, invisible. Or maybe it was simply the image of that puppy pushing his dead mother, begging for a miracle that would never come. Over the following days, Laura did something she never imagined she would be capable of. She watched. She took notes. She recorded. She passed by Rodrigo's pet shop during breaks at work, pretending to be interested in pet food. She photographed the cars that stopped at the back door late at night. She secretly recorded conversations. Daniel helped her without fully understanding. To him, it was an adventure. To Laura, it was justice. And then, on a rainy Thursday, Laura saw it. A man delivering a box to Rodrigo. Inside, puppies crying. She recognized the Jeep. She had seen that vehicle before, circulating through the neighborhood, too slowly, too observantly. Laura grabbed her phone and made the call. Not to the local police, who had never taken Iris seriously, but to an investigative journalist who covered crimes against animals. A woman whose report Laura had seen weeks earlier and whose contact she had saved, without knowing why. "I have a story for you," Laura said, her voice firm for the first time in years. "And I have proof." The journalist's name was Helena Carvalho, and when she saw the photos and videos Laura had gathered, her eyes shone with that hunger for truth that good reporters have. "This is gold. But I need more. I need to get inside." Laura felt the fear return, but she nodded. They put together a risky plan. Helena would pose as a buyer interested in purebred puppies, willing to pay a high price for documentation with no questions asked. Laura would be the perfect bait to confirm the supplier's identity. On the agreed night, Laura entered the pet shop 10 minutes before Helena. Rodrigo was there, organizing sacks of pet food with that rehearsed smile. When he saw her, something changed in his face. A dangerous recognition. "You," he said quietly. "You live in Iris's building." Laura's heart froze. He knew. Of course he knew. He had probably been watching the old woman since the theft. "I don't know what you're talking about," Laura tried, but her voice came out trembling. Rodrigo walked around the counter, his steps slow, calculated. "Where is the puppy? The one with the moon mark?" Before Laura could answer, Helena walked in, the hidden camera already recording. "Good evening. I came to see the purebred puppies you advertise outside." Rodrigo hesitated. His instinct for profit battled against suspicion. Profit won. He took Helena to the back. Laura followed him, her legs weak, but determined to witness everything. What they saw there made Laura's stomach churn. Stacked cages. Dozens of puppies in deplorable conditions. Some sick. Others too apathetic. And in a corner, she recognized them. The other 4 siblings of the puppy she had saved, thin, dirty, trembling. "These ones are special," Rodrigo said, pointing to the dachshunds. "Award-winning lineage. 3,000 each, without documents. 5,000 with authenticated papers." Helena pretended interest, asking questions, buying time for the camera to capture every horrific detail. But then Rodrigo noticed the tiny red glow of the hidden lens. His face turned into pure fury. "You're a journalist." He lunged forward, but Laura stepped in front, her small body shielding Helena. "The police are already on their way. We've already sent everything." It was a lie. But it was said with such conviction that Rodrigo froze for a crucial second. Long enough for Helena to dial the emergency number and shout the address. When the sirens echoed in the street, Rodrigo tried to flee through the back. He didn't make it. 3 weeks later, Laura was sitting on the couch in the apartment, now legally allowed to shelter animals after the building management revised the rules. The small dachshund, whom Daniel named Soul, slept on her lap, finally healthy, shiny, full of life. Helena's report exploded. Rodrigo was arrested, the pet shop was closed, and all the puppies were rescued and found loving homes. Soul's 4 siblings were reunited with Iris, who cried for hours holding the recovered litter. The old breeder offered Laura any amount of money as a reward, but Laura refused everything. Except one thing. "Can I keep him?" "Soul." Iris smiled through her tears. "He is already yours, dear. From the moment you decided not to turn your back." Daniel now took Soul to school on special days, telling his classmates how his mother was a heroine. Laura laughed, embarrassed, but deep down she felt something she had not felt in years: pride. Not the arrogant kind, but the quiet kind that comes from knowing you did the right thing when it would have been much easier to ignore it. On a sunny afternoon, Laura passed by the abandoned lot again. Someone had placed flowers where Soul's mother died. A simple bouquet, but full of meaning. Laura suspected it had been Iris. She knelt there, Soul in her arms, and whispered to the wind, "He is fine. I promise I will take care of him." The puppy licked her face, as if he understood. That night, while Daniel slept and Soul snored softly in his little bed, Laura thought about how everything had changed because of an almost inaudible whimper on a cold morning. She thought about how many times she herself had felt like that puppy, invisible, begging for help, ignored by the world. The difference is that someone stopped. Someone chose to see. And that choice changed everything. Sometimes, saving a life does not require superpowers or wealth. It only requires the courage not to turn your back when the world expects you to pretend not to see. Because in the end, all of us are that puppy at some point. And all of us deserve someone who stops, who listens, who reaches out a hand. Laura turned off the light, feeling Soul's warm weight at her feet. She had stopped. She had listened. And that made all the difference. If you liked this story, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and tell us in the comments what you thought and which city or country you're watching from. Your story matters too.